Welcome to the very first chapter of Art Form, a series of talks with people who have guided the arts, challenged ideas, and led the charge on creating change in their fields. Today we have with us some of our own from our Artshala family. I'm pleased to introduce to you the program curators of Artshala Ahmedabad, Ruturaj Parekh and Mansi Hatanguri. Ruturaj and Mansi founded Matter, an interdisciplinary architecture, design, and publishing studio deeply invested in professional design discourse in India, where they work in the interface between architecture and content, consistently experimenting with new ways of engaging with the built environment. As everyone knows, as has been introduced, today's subject is talking about how intrinsic craft is to the process of design, right? And how craft in itself as a process, craft in itself as something that's very universally um, present in everything we do, almost like this mechanical sense of constantly redoing and doing again and again and again to reach that perfection and to have that skill. Craft as possibly something that's part of our everyday. But these are the many definitions of craft that I can Google and find more of online as well. But it'll be great to hear from both of you how, especially with the context of Archala Ahmedabad, what is the distinction of craft that we are creating and that we are going to talk about today? Rituraj, would you like to take that up?
Sure. When we look at the idea of craft in the context of architecture and design, we are not looking only at, let's say, the idea of handicraft or the the idea of tradition and craft. By craft, we mean in India, especially, we have a very deep and very profound culture of making,
Hmm.
and this goes across really all. It's not just about architecture and design. It is a part of everyday life,
Hmm.
from whether it is the culinary arts or the food, to carpentry, which is omnipresent really in many forms in India. Simple things like simple accessible skills like fabrication or
Hmm.
metalwork,
Hmm.
and then more exclusive or more higher skill oriented crafts, like inlay and stone laying. So these are, but these if we recognize these ideas as craft, they have very close connection to architecture and design in India. Our
Okay.
buildings, 90% of them are made by skilled artisans. What people whom we generally refer to as labor on the site, and they are these are like an enormous variety of skills, from tying reinforcement to shuttering to creating scaffolding to masonry and laying of bricks and stone to plaster, making doors and windows,
Hmm.
simple everyday carpentry, fabrication, as I mentioned before. These are all urban, peri-urban, rural skills, completely accessible to the world of architecture and design. And in that sense, when even Charles Henry Eames wanted to establish and came here and made that beautiful India report, uh, on the cover of which, he likes to always mention there's a lota. Uh,
Hmm.
the, so in that report, they have also emphasized on this visceral connection between architecture, design and craft in their language
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
India. And therefore, when NID was established, it had a very deep and very clear, very nicely organized craft program. And that the idea of craft there is not limited to the idea of tradition. It is also it is actually very connected to this idea of making, as we were talking
Hmm.
about.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is the lens through which we are also looking at craft for Archila Ahmedabad. And And because we are establishing a center for architecture and design in India, it becomes inevitable, therefore, that we look at craft as a part of that.
Okay, lovely. So now, I mean, since you've mentioned Archila Ahmedabad, focusing on architecture, design, and craft in the way that you have defined it. Mansi, would you like to maybe tell us a little more about what we can expect at the center?
So what we started looking at the center was when we were curating the collection of books, which is primarily the agenda of the center. It's going to have a beautiful library with around 5,000 books, periodicals, and films related to these disciplines and their interdisciplinary connections. We started looking at crafts as how Popul Jaikar described when they were doing the Festivals of India exhibition. We started looking at it as three types of crafts, where we were looking at village crafts, we were looking at sacred crafts and court crafts. But the more we went into it, we didn't want to define it as urban, rural, or peri-urban crafts. So we started looking at, like Ruturaj was saying, the ideas of making, but also, then going into the techniques of it or the processes of it. So I think the center is primarily going to revolve around these ideas, in the sense that, we might be looking at not just crafts in the vernacular or traditional sense, not just building crafts, but also, craft entrepreneurs who are coming up now, whether young practices which are looking at craft with this lens. So we'll be having exhibitions which also center around that idea. We'll be having books which are curated around these themes, which look at craft, not just, something that is so intrinsic to just processing something or doing something, but also applied crafts or anything related to the built environment. So that more or less is the idea that Archila Ahmedabad is going to be talking about.
Lovely. So we are looking at Archila Ahmedabad as like this repository of knowledge in these domains of architecture, design, and then um, the, the, all the processes that come with it in making your built environment around you, right? That's fantastic. Now, when we say craft is intrinsic to design, right? Mansi, I'll again come back to you on this. Ruturaj, of course, touched upon it. Can you maybe give me a little more flavor on that?
So I think that, there are a lot of crafts which develop, and when I say craft, also sometimes, people confuse it with the idea of practice. But when we say craft of making, or, these, there are ceramic arts and there are multiple material overlays to it. There is, ceramic, there's stone, there is metal work, there is carpentry, and also the outcomes of it are varied. But, in the domain of just design or the idea of building, it sort of prominently comes forth as furniture, it'll come forth as textile design, and a lot of people are working a lot along those domains also. Textile as crafts, or, furniture as a craft. Not just as artifacts, but just as looking at, how Nakashima does his furniture pieces, or how Naguchi did his lamps. So that also becomes part of the craft process. So we are not just looking at, a beautiful object, but now we are delving into the techniques and processes of everything that comes in the components or as elements of the building. So we could be mapping, and this is, we could be looking at embedded overlays, inlays that work, mosaic work that happens, something that, you sort of do not notice in your everyday, but is omnipresent in the sense that, to make a terracotta floor or a mosaic floor, what all goes into it. And that those processes we are hoping to document also, whether it's an IPS floor which requires certain craftspeople only from Tamil Nadu. So we are looking at, presenting maybe films on that, or maybe workshops around that, or having a talk along those lines. When I say design, like I mentioned, textiles, furniture, even in graphic designs, the idea of even how people look at screen printing or lino cuts, or that is also a craft by itself. We were also looking at someone which, at the intersection of all of this. They might not be necessarily designed in the conventional sense, but something like what Tara Books does with the crafts of India. They produce books for children with artists. They're looking at processes of screen printing, linocut. They go into the entire depth of something, and that is what we are trying to bring to the table. That conversation we are trying to foreground as crafts in the center.
I mean, I'll turn a page on documentation, and I'll bring the ball to your court, Ruturaj. Why is it so important to document today?
So in Bombay, the success of the Jahangir Art Gallery can be attributed to the fact that it is very much on the street, just 6 steps away from the street, and you have this entire world of art, and therefore people walk in all the time, irrespective of who is presenting or whether they are interested in it. And and in a sense, it has that direct and immediate connection. But right next door is the Maximilian Bhavan Gallery, which has a little bit of a barrier, right? I mean, you will feel a little odd walking in if you're and therefore this whole conversation about public institutions and how accessible they can be, and in that context, if you look at the idea of documentation, it becomes very important for institutions like Archila to be repositories of some kind. They don't have to be an exhaustive. We are not trying to again replace or in a way substitute the significance of what National Crafts Museum can do. But in a small way, we are trying to create this small institution, independent, and what Mansi generally prefers to say non-aligned, in a way that it can be a place where people from different backgrounds also feel comfortable, and the ideas that we want to work on, the ideas of documentation, the ideas of creating archives, and the idea of creating a collection, as well as the idea of a public forum, whether it is through talks, whether it is through workshops. So the whole idea of public forum is also, we also consciously want to extend it to everyone, irrespective of their background, irrespective of their. So in a way, if we want to push like this thought that design to a great extent seems to be alien to a lot of people, and they always think of it as a question of lifestyle, not a question of life. So which is what we want to change through a center like Archila, because it is not a question of lifestyle. It is just unfortunate that majority of people think that to hire a designer is to or even to engage with design is, but they all use smartphones, and they all wear design shoes, and they all buy clothes from I don't know, H&M. So design is omnipresent in many ways. So that is what we want to engage with, and therefore the idea of documentation is very important, because it gives people access to content that they can then draw their own their own ideas from. Right. And as a center, we don't want to kind of be non-aligned is a very important word. So we don't want to subscribe to a particular ideology or thought process. It's open. It's for everyone. We will have ideas on this side of the table and also on that side of the table. So we are a platform, and our role in the world, for at least for the couple of initial years, is to be this sort of platform where everybody, no matter from which background, can access the idea of architecture and design without outside the world of academics or profession as such.
Lovely. Talking about accessibility, and this is open to both of you, of course. I remember us talking about at the beginning of this conversation as well, outside of this conversation, about how there is accessible skill in India, right? There are craftsmen of various fields and various genres, whom Ruturaj also mentioned that, that we consider them as labor. So, what of them and what with them is the plan of action with at Archila Ahmedabad? What are we bringing forward? How are we bringing forward? Or what are we doing about this accessible skill?
I can share that that at this point we have two sort of let's say domains of work at the center. The first domain is what we call the collection, which includes books, films, digital resources, and eventually an archive of sorts. Now through the collection, we want to document, going back to your previous question also, and archive some of these very critical and intrinsic processes to both architecture and design. And if you look at it from the word perspective of design, for simple things like prototyping, it is so simple and so beautifully accessible to prototype something in India. You can just you can create a chair, for example, without going through a very extensive industrial process in our country. So ideas like that and skills especially, we have individually also been involved in documenting some of these processes which are on the verge of going out of fashion in some sense in both architecture and design. And simple things like lacquer work needs documentation. Also the artists, the artisans who are connected to that work have to be that the skill and the potential is currently limited to the small objects, toys, artifacts and jewelry. But if we look at it, certain designers also are now experimenting with them on furniture, on tabletops, and even like this spatial, small spaces and all. So we so the center can actually through films, through commissioning and making of films, through commissioning reports, books, surveys, can become a place and a repository for knowledge like this. That is and the other part, which is program, what we call program. So the collection is this part, and the program through program, of course, we can the talks, the workshops, the discussions that we can host there. We want to reach out to people like Dr. Ismail Khatri, who is this amazing person who has revived in some way the entire traditional craft of block printing and made it accessible in the contemporary design language as well. So even people like that, we know somebody like Kodandam and all, who from at least 2 generations have been practitioners of a certain craft. Baju Sham, who is a painter, he works closely with Tara Books, people like that. So how also to understand how an artisan or a craftsman also interfaces with the world of architecture and design is something that we want to understand through the center, through our work at the center. That's Mansi, you want to add?
Yeah, so I think I think it's critical for the center because it's sort of lending a perspective. It's also saying that we sort of repackaging the concept of looking at a certain thing now in a different way. We are saying that you need to look at bricklaying as a craft, and that I think has become important for Archila Ahmedabad. That we are saying that there is an artisan in Ahmedabad who is the last of his line who does something called Matani Pachedi. They paint on textiles for shrines for goddesses for a certain time, and now he is the only craftsman left. But now we have realized that he's interfacing with certain architects and taking that artwork to walls or something like that, you know. So when that extension happens, or that possibility is what we are trying to package. And we are trying to say that this is another way of looking at the word craft. And that has become important. And we are looking at audiences across, and that includes children. We have curated around a list of around 200 to 300 books, which are exclusively looking at how terms like architecture, design, the processes, crafts is being defined for children. And these come from renowned publishing houses who are designers themselves, or craftsmen who or craftspeople who have been writing these books. So, you know, that is also something that we are trying to do with Archila Ahmedabad, that it grows across ages and across demographies in some sense, so that, you know, there is a new sort of definition or the new way of looking at these words, and it does not just stay limited to how we define it in professional terms, that we say architecture in a certain way and the practice of design and the practice of craft, and that's not what we are just looking at anymore.
Nice. So, I mean, in a single line, if I had to give a takeaway, it would be that, you know, we are documenting these extensions that have been, you know, naturally occurring over a period of time, or that have been innovated. And we are also making accessible this knowledge of what was and what it can be, right? That's amazing. So just the last thing before I think we sign off today is it would be great to hear like some real life examples from both of your works of how you came across a particular, you know, craft, and how you employed that in your architectural work. Something that maybe you both worked on together or even independently.
We have been over time engaging with certain people, and and one of the important things that we have realized, especially when you deal with craft and craft as in the context of design or architecture, is that the knowledge is embedded and it's tacit. It's not an explicit knowledge. So while you can make a white paper on it, the white paper does not translate, or it is not a book is not a device that can transfer that knowledge from one person to another. I mean, it is intrinsic to how, and therefore it is intrinsic to practice as well. So in some way, if you are a practicing designer, a practicing architect, you are in some vague sense a craftsman as well, because you cannot simply it's a bit like swimming or learning to cycle. You cannot read a manual on it and suddenly, you know, you have to, like, you know, fall and try very hard to be natural at it. So in that sense, we find that there are some people, like there's this in around Parivartan, around one of the Takshila sort of initiatives in Sivan. In Parivartan, we have done some buildings in wire cut bricks. One of them is just getting completed now, and one of the things that we realized is this the skill of this master masons who understand way beyond our ability to comprehend and make drawings, and trying to communicate with them, who through a simple conversation on the site understand exactly what's to be done and then do it in a exceptionally beautiful way. And these people come from the same place, you know, they don't travel very far. They are from Sivan, they are from in and around Bihar, and and what happens in the process. So in Sivan, we have done, this is our third building in the same different building in the same material in some sense, and every time we have endeavored to build with them, it has been a kind of flow of knowledge which is both ways. So while we presume to know space and spatial, like whatever tectonic to a certain degree, we don't presume to know how bricks are laid, right? And we leave that, and that is a conversation we have been having with them. And slowly, our knowledge, of course, has grown significantly in that matter, and our understanding and respect for them has also exponentially grown. So that's a simple example of, and then that happens. It's not unusual. It happens a lot of times with Kodandam and his team. We learned how they do Indian. It's simple Indian pattern stone, IPS floorings, oxide, what we call oxides. I think Mansi will probably share a little more on, because she also illustrates and she's involved with children's books, so she may have some.
No, so I think I'll not take off from there, but I'll just extend on what Ruturaj is saying, that sometimes, we have learned when he says flow of knowledge, how not to question certain things, because you automatically assume that, a certain kind of flooring is done in a certain way. And they come back with some new knowledge, and because they understand that we respect the idea, that we'll be open to listening to them, they'll offer an alternative which is very local to them. And we realize that it's something that we have never heard of. Like, I think last week we were talking about how they use iron ore, which is left over from mining, for a certain kind of flow finish, which we would not have thought of. And also what he said with Koganandam and team, they have been doing IPS for years. We started out documenting it for our online platform, for the magazine. Then we started using it in our buildings, and we realized that how they sit on coconut husks and use it as a slide to finish the flow. And that's something that, you unless you document it, or unless you're there in person, you don't know how to really put it in words, or how to frame it. And there have been couple from Kerala. We have documented someone who's been doing metal roof works, and how they do those metal roofs in a certain way, and how the joinery works, which is so inherent only or innate to that region, because Kerala roofs a very particular way. They receive rainfall in a very different pattern. So the plurality of how India is, I think that offers us an opportunity to just go region by region, and how different craftspeople work, and it's a revelation entirely. So whether you're documenting it or whether you're using it in your practice, I think that flow of knowledge is certainly both ways. So
that's amazing. And it's amazing that you are so knee deep into it as well, constantly, and that your practice will also bring so much insight into the center in Ahmedabad. And we are all obviously really looking forward to a time when all of this is physically available. But until then, I hope, both to the audiences who are watching and Ruturaj, Mansi, that we'll have many such conversations, and we will all participate as much again. Thank you so much for this very first episode and chapter of Artform. And to everybody else out there, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, find Artchilla as we stand today, and lots more to come in the near future. Okay, thank you everyone.